a sound, a certain sound, or you came across it accidentally, right?
Mm-hmm.
After you get that sound in your head, and then you know you're going to play it live, how much does the technical in play in producing the sound that you got in your head, that you're playing? You know, like when you're playing at home, it sounds one way, but when you get to the show, do it sound the same way, or what happens?
Well, it depends. It depends. Now, when you're using foot pedals, yeah, because like so they have a certain threshold and stuff. And I've been at home and I've played a Mutron or whatever, the bass IQ from BBL, and then I get, you know, I'm playing at home and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But see, when you're live, your attack is usually harder and stuff, and then. And not only do you have to have the same setting, but even having the same settings, your attack is different. And then you got to consider there's other instruments, so sometimes it doesn't cut through. So you got to know what frequency is going to cut through as well.
What I was saying basically is like, are you still feeling it?
Oh yeah.
You know, the same way.
Well, that's the thing.
Okay.
I tell you, when I was ready to leave MTD, I knew I wanted something that could cut through, period. I wanted something fat that can cut through and had crisp highs. And no matter what situation, it cuts through. I know, you know, it was, you know, I wanted something that, I came off the road with my MTDs and I was like, it's in, you know, some amps, you know, at certain venues, it'd be cool. I knew if I had a SWR or Eden and it was working right, it was going to sound, you know, I could get the sound I want. Anything else, you know, and it depends, you know, it just wouldn't have that pattern. Like you were saying on the low end, I was like, I went back to listen to my other stuff. I was like, dang, the Tobias, my old Tobias had a lot more fat in it. I want that. And this is only 9 volts. And it has the same meat, if not more, than my old Tobias. And it has even, you know, crisp high end. A lot of times I have to roll it off, you know. I guess I could play, oh, I'm sorry.
How do you have your bass heads, the EQ on that?
Well, right now,
on your bass on the actual, on your rig.
On the rig?
Yeah, is it flat?
I do the bass, well, because, like I said, this is fat on the low end, because right now I only have the bass, the bottom bass only half up. I keep it there. Because anything else is like extra fat. Surprising, for 9 volt, you know, I keep it at half staff all the time. You know, now the treble, I mean, it depends on what I have here. Same thing on here. I just have on the bass, on the lows, right at the middle, have it flat. The mids, I'll do a little bit. I'll a little bit past flat. Treble, a little bit past flat, and that's it.
Hey Dave.
Yes, sir.
What's the one piece of advice that you wish you had gotten before you started doing a lot of your high-profile gigs that you'd like the players in the room to have?
Now, do you mean as far as business-wise, networking, or just strictly musical?
Well, strictly musical in terms of like once you started playing some of these gigs, what's the thing you go like, man, I wish somebody had told me that before I started doing this kind of stuff? Because I think there's a lot of guys that can be really great players by themselves that sometimes struggle in the transition to playing within a band context or something like that.
That's a good question. The thing is, before I got to play with high-profile gig, I was like, I'm more than ready. I was like, I'm ready. But you realize you always have something to learn. You always learn something. It's not just the instrument thing, but music-wise, that's hard to say because I'm still learning. You know, I learned. I used to think when I have a drummer, if he's not, you know, it depends. There's always exceptions. If there's a drummer and he's not keeping the time, you know, my main thing is to try to, you know, I look at him and I'm like, if you're dragging, you know, try to be inconspicuous about it. But if you're dragging, you know, to come up with now. Suppose he's still gonna drag. Suppose he still drag. Now you gotta go with him. You know, it's messed up, but you just gotta go with him because it's just gonna sound like you're fighting each other. So I've learned a lot of things that I've changed my mind about. It's like, no, what are you gonna do? Just not play and throw your face down and walk on stage? No, you gotta do the job and be a professional. So, it's a lot of things that, but
What about in terms of how to get a kind of a gig like some
how
of
to
the
get
gigs
a
you've
kind of-
got?
well, it's all about, it's good to sit in. That's a great thing. You get a lot of, you know, if you have a friend or somebody, even if you're in a different town or even in town, and it's you know, a gig where a lot of people come, you just never know who's gonna come in. It could be 2 people in the room, and one of those people could be, you know, somebody that can get you a good gig, a big gig. So, just, you gotta be on your P's and Q's at all time. Know that, you know, you could have impressed them with your plan, but you had an attitude about something, and they thought, oh no, he's, you know, so you just never know. But as far as getting the gig, let me see, my first gig, I guess my first lesson would be don't be a lazy bum, because I wouldn't have had the New Kids gig if I was a lazy bum. Because it was a cold, slushy day in Boston, and I had just come from another gig. And I got back to my apartment, and all I wanted to do was just chill, get something to eat and chill. I did not want to go back out. I was done for the day. And I got the call to go down to Marie Starr's studio and audition for the New Kids. And I was like, man, I'm not going down to Roxbury. He's like, look, I'm glad he was like, he's like, listen, man, I'll pay you for your cab. Just come on down there. No, there's no excuse. I was like, all right, man. So I came down there with a